Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Wendy Craig, the Scientific Director of PREVNet, and on behalf of our team, I'd like to thank everyone for attending and welcome you to the seminar today. Wherever you are located, please join us in acknowledging and thanking the generations of Indigenous peoples who have cared for these lands and in celebrating the continued strength and spirit of Indigenous peoples. We are bringing today's webinar from the Community of Practice to address teen dating violence funded by Public Health Agency of Canada. Today's webinar is being led by Dr. Christine Wekerle from McMaster University. She will talk about a resilience app for youth that she and her team created with leading Canadian app developer Clearbridge Mobile. We know that some of the projects in our community were interested in learning more about this app and to add this app to their programming. Before I introduce Chris, I'll go through the webinar format for today. Chris will present for approximately 20 minutes, and during her presentation, we invite you to type any comments or questions that you may have for her in the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen, and we will track those questions and pull from them and present them to Chris at the end of her presentation during the last 30 minutes of the presentation. Alternatively, if your computer has a device or a microphone and you would like to ask a question during the call, you could use the raise the hand icon, and it's at the top left of your webinar control panel. We will get to your question as soon as we can. When we reach your question, we'll announce your name and unmute your microphone. Thanks very much. At the end of the webinar, you will see a link to the evaluation, and that's the evaluation of this webinar. We really value the responses that people provide to us through the evaluations, and they help us guide our planning for future webinars. All of your feedback is anonymous, so please take the 2 minutes, and it really is 2 minutes, to complete the survey. Once you have completed the evaluation form, you'll be directed to a website where you will be prompted to enter your full name and address, and once you've done that, a certificate of attendance will be generated for you and emailed to you. I just want to stress that even though you fill in that part with your name, in order to get the certificate, and your name isn't associated or attached to your evaluation form, so it's completely anonymous. The webinar today is being recorded, so after the webinar, we will send out the link to everyone that registered so they can share the recording to those that they're working with that might have not been able to attend. So enough of my introduction. Let's get to why you're really here. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Christine Wekerle. She is an assistant professor at McMaster University in pediatrics and is an editor-in-chief for Child Abuse and Neglect, the International Journal. Her research focuses on youth rights and resilience. Her research design is modeled after the interrelatedness of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals on violence prevention and mental health promotion, education, wellness, peace, and justice, to those on environmental health and resilience. She leads a research team on boys and men's health that focuses on violence, health, and resilience, recognizing the need to create new solutions to reach male youth, to support them in partnering, and to be sensitive to populations at higher risk for dating violence, including LGBTQ+, welfare-involved, and Indigenous youth. I'm delighted to have Chris with us today, and I'm sure the presentation is going to be interesting, and we're all going to go away learning something new. So over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be talking to everyone. So a big hello to everyone in PREVNet land. Happy to be chatting to you today. You'll be seeing potentially some arms or pieces of my research coordinator, Savannah Smith. And she'll be helping with the demo of the JoyPop app. So I'm going to go to talking about the PowerPoint presentation that you have on your screens. And as you know, everyone in services knows, youth live in 3 worlds. Their real life, walking the ground world, their online world, and their adolescent community world. And these can coincide to be very supportive and empowering. They can also be challenging, as the PREVNet community knows, around bullying or cyberbullying. So we want to focus on a familiar type of help seeking or information seeking that youth would go to, since we know for dating violence issues, they won't go to teachers or professionals right off the bat. They'll be talking to their peers if they're disclosing or talking about their violence in their partnerships. So I'm going to talk a little bit about finding joy in app and why it makes good sense to be focused on health promotion and resilience, galvanization, at the same time as you're trying to enhance safety and prevent violence. So I am going to just move to the next screen. And rather than go through what are definitions of resilience and why this makes sense, I'm just going to direct you to this open access vehicle, which is helpful since many people in practice don't have access that universities do to articles. The International Journal of Child and Adolescent Resilience is open access. You go to the website, the journal's there. It's now being offered in French and English, and you can distribute these articles across your networks. It's completely open access. And I think we have a shared idea that violence can really challenge. It's one of the adversities that can challenge a youth's resilience, and part of what makes someone resilient are the resources in their environments, and that includes the prevention programming that you're, as a group, trying to go forward with this Public Health Agency of Canada grant. Just so we're on the same page, I know everybody's quite expert in having obtained these grants on dating violence, and PREVNet having been a long-standing partner with Red Cross around healthy relationships. This is just the most recent data from the US. This is taking into account over like 15,000 high school youth to understand what they're saying at the population level. And youth are telling us that, you know, there's 7.4% overall have ever had forced sex. Of course, with global trends, this is higher in females at 11%. So that's really quite high to think that if you're in a classroom, 1 in 10 will have had experienced forced sex in their lifetime. And not to diminish the fact that some males, 3.5%, will also report this on an anonymous questionnaire, and we know that we can take this as all likely underreporting, as there's a lot of stigma to reporting, and especially so for males. There has been a steady trend, as the second graph shows, from 2007 to 2017. There's no significant difference in the overall rate of ever experiencing forced sex. So that helps us think about how we really want to be starting to address sexual violence in our dating violence prevention programs, even though we know emotional violence will be at the most prevalent. And in terms of the physical dating violence and sexual dating violence, so very specifically about having been dating in the past year with someone, what do these youth tell us? That they tell us about 8% overall physical dating violence and about 7% overall sexual dating violence. Again, higher in females than male students. There is on dating violence a decline from 10 to 8 or 10 to 7%. But again, this is a population rate, so 10% of the population is a significant issue. And we know going into any kind of service context, whether you're going to go into child welfare or youth justice or mental health or youth addiction services or youth homeless services, these rates will be much higher, probably closer to 30%, 25 to 30%. So just to lay the context of what we're talking about. And just want to tap, I just go back for a second, just because I wanted to identify that I think when you're thinking about measurement, it's really helpful to use the measures of population studies, the actual questions. So to maybe think about using the actual question on Everforth Sex, the actual questions they have on dating violence, because at least you'll know your rates as it relates to the US rates, and whatever Canadian regular population surveys. I mean, they don't tend to be national, but BC has an adolescent health survey, for example. And just mention that we had developed the CADRI for measuring dating violence and want to use a short form, a 10-item form, and this is the reference for that. That's just one of whatever your many options are. From like PREVNet's point of view, it's going to be helpful for there to be a common measurement model. So across the different studies, you could at least have some common measures. And when we're thinking about JoyPop, what are we thinking about? Well, it's an app. It's a resilience intervention. It's designed to enhance mental wellness and resilience. It's not designed per se to target dating violence. It is designed to target emotion regulation, which we know is one of part of the mediators between adverse childhood events like child maltreatment and adolescent dating violence, things like trauma symptoms and how to regulate those. Can be part of the issue when youth maybe tit for tat, match up and escalate interchanges that are increasingly violent, from verbal abuse and to any other form. So it is designed as a resilience app, and it could be used in many different ways. It could be used as a pre-intervention to your studies. So you might have a waitlist control for your prevention program. Instead of having nothing happen on the waitlist control, you could offer the JoyPop app as one of the resources in the waitlist control part. You could have it as part of your post-intervention. So after they complete your dating violence prevention program, you could have it as part of your booster sessions, or you could have it as a follow-up resilience piece, and see maybe does it sustain your post results, for instance, does it add to that? We are doing a study now with Children's Aid Society of Toronto, where we've developed a 6-session resilience group, which partners with every feature of the app to extend the learning. And so that might be, if you're saying, well, we want to have this as the alternate treatment compared to our intervention, that's an alternate treatment design, or again, you can have it a combined intervention. And in this study, we have measures of resilience and affect regulation that we can share with you, as well as qualitative measures from the youth. So this app, to give you a bit of background, it's taken about 2 years to do, and it was a process of consulting with various youth in computer sciences at McMaster University and getting their input, youth that we work with in the Tear Talk group, which is Toronto Police Victim Services Youth Leadership Group, TEAR, Teens Ending Abusive Relationships. They have a Twitter chat every Thursday and also on Instagram, and connecting with various service providers to get information on what kind of features they thought would work, what were particular privacy safety concerns, and to also use the resilience research to date and the research that's coming from our CHR team grants on how to support males in using this. So the focus on the app is on positives. It's self-agency with options. So as you see the landing page on the left, well, whatever side of it is for you, happiness starts with you. And then you have all the features there to go to. There are resilience messages throughout. There's a reinforcement model. When you complete something, there's a thumbs up and a motivational message. In the journaling feature, there are prompts. In the breathing, there are options. And as you see, one of the examples of the art, free art draw opportunity where you can just do that. And youth can, if they like what they draw, they could screenshot it and share it. And that's the extent of the sharing. They'd have to screenshot something to share it. Nothing would really within the app get shared to anyone. There is a connecting feature, a safe social connecting, and that is really trying to have you focus on who are their social networks, who'll pick up the phone when they need to call someone. And that might be a worker, that might be another provider, it could be family, friends, foster parents, etc. So we're going to try now to go and show you just the look of the app and then take questions about the app. So I'm going to try and switch to my camera. Sorry. Webcam.
No,
Stop showing screen. Okay, there we are. Great. So we're going to just have to do a little bit of working out with. Let's see if we do it this way. There we go. Okay, so you kind of see the JoyPop. Oh, that's really good. The JoyPop. Is it showing up backwards though?
yeah.
Well, I don't know. How are we going to do this?
You can't. It's just gonna.
No, it wasn't showing up backwards there. Nope,
Okay, this is
yep.
good?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. It's just to us backwards. Okay, so this is the JoyPop, and this is the first welcome to JoyPop page, and explains what it is. And I'm going to just have Savannah help me out here. And then it explains what the emotion ratings are. You get an opportunity. We always ask the rating of a happy emotion, because oftentimes in adverse situations you're over trained to look at negatives. So we do need some additional training to pay attention to positives, because you may, if you're very stressed out, the research is very clear that you have a narrowed focus of attention. And when you have a narrow focus of attention when you're stressed, you tend to, you're primed to look for negatives. So we're trying to reshift, so you're looking at positives, and we have you rate your happy first. And go Savannah. And then we have the activities, which are shown with that, and they go into more discussion. We have a Tetris-like game, and that is because it's called Square Moves, and that's because there's a great deal of research on Tetris as improving affect regulation and cognitive focused attention, as well as very specifically on PTSD and improving PTSD symptoms. And the reflective journaling, this is really having an opportunity to define resilience, words that youth might not be familiar with, like self-compassion as a concept, but it's very relevant to what might help them to have a more resilient mindset. And it starts to engage youth with the prompt to think about what self-compassion is and what action they did or what action they would do. So it's really both reflective and thinking about actions. In the circle of trust, as I mentioned, you get to select up to 6 people with you in the center, and they're color coded for whether they're a professional, friend, or family member. You input their phone number, and when you want to connect, you just hit that button and it takes you right to that. Go ahead. So when you open the app, the first thing in the day when you open the app, we are asking you to do some deep breathing. So you'll get this diagram that gives you body cues like, relax your jaw, and you get a cue, and then you go into breathing. And I just wanted you to point out that icon at the top. On every screen, there's an icon of a phone at the top. Do you want to press that? And that shows you right away, you get all these 24/7 hotlines if you're feeling distressed. Okay, and then if we go on to, after you've got your cues, you have 2 types of breathing. one for balance and one for relaxation. And basically the balance is you're doing a longer out breath than in breath. And in the in the balance you have a more even in breath and out breath. And in the relaxation you have a longer out breath, and it uses pucker lip breathing, which is ideal for COPD, if you know that. But we'll just show you a bit, but you get to choose this or do both. So if you want to hit the top one. And it really just literally cues you word-wise at the top, and you follow the diagram and the cues at the top. Okay, and if we go back, like we want to end this, we go back, and this is the pucker lip breathing. So you'll see pucker your lips. You can, like youth already do this when they blow up balloons. And it's, as you can see, all timed, and it goes like 6 times. And then we can go on to the rate the mood. So it's like we're trying to keep sort of a water theme with the colors and what we chose to make action. So you just move that up or down. And if we have a kind of happier mood day, then you get a motivational message in the thumbs up, where you just put the thumbs up. And if we do rate the mood again, but we're rating less than 50% as happy, we're then now asked to rate, well, what are you feeling? So are you feeling sad? Are you feeling meh? Are you feeling angry? So if we just go to maybe whatever, which one? And then we're saying, okay, we're feeling really pretty angry today. And then it's going to say a motivational message, and then it says go to activities, or maybe later, but you always get something. So if we go to the activities, hopefully they choose to go to activities, and then this is where they say, oh, let's do something about it. So you've already seen the breathing, that one could do something about it. If you just pop on the art, that's kind of, you saw a screenshot of that before. And so it just says get creative, and yeah, perfect. And we can go back. And then we have Tetris, which is going to be really hard for us to play upside down. But the idea of Tetris, if you don't know it, is you're trying to, well, this is called square moves, because squares are moving and you're essentially trying to fit them into a block. And when you get a row across, it makes a pop-up animation, and you get the score on the side. So the more you do get across of the blocks, you fit them in, you touch it to rotate it, and the more you fit it in, the more your score goes up. So it's multicolored, and that sort of gives you that idea. And then we can go to the resilience journaling. And I'm going to ask, just because, Savannah, please read this, because I can't read it upside down.
Resilience involves being aware and in control of your emotions. What are some activities or strategies that you use to stay in check with your emotions and impulses?
So the nice thing is, if we, because we have a microphone function, so you're typing emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So she just typed in my emotions, and maybe we'll just, can you use the microphone function to just say, like, your journaling? Oh, you don't have it on the iPad?
No.
Okay. Well, on the phone, you have a microphone function, so you can just hit that and say what you think. Then you can add your emojis and things like that. You can journal in emojis. Yeah. Okay, and then we save that, and it goes into a calendar, and this is something that the youth thought one of the feedback was they like to see a calendar so that now if you hit October 24th, you will see your entry, the entry that you did. And then if you go back to the calendar, you would have circles for every time you did a journal entry, and it'll show up below. So you could almost read it like a diary. So that's quite cool. And then the last thing we need to show you is the circle of 6. And so this is basically you input who is in your network, and then you just hit it and it calls you to your network. That sort of shows you that you would input. And yeah. Okay, there you go. And so that's basically the app. And because we do have a mind to do research, you can get data off the app. So basically the data you get within the context of a research study is you have one more screen, and you would have entered your research ID number. And then what you get is things like a timestamp. So do they use the breathing in the morning? What do they go in the morning to? You can do quite sophisticated analysis. So do they see the breathing in the morning? Do they go to the activities? Do they do their moods at night? You would also get just the number of times they use the feature within a day, and you would get you don't get the names of the people they input or their phone numbers, but if they called their circle of 6, if they made a call, you would get that feature was utilized. With the resilience journaling, it does not take in the actual text of the resilience journaling, but you would get the information whether that journaling was utilized. And so there's this, the mood ratings are converted to numbers. As you saw the slide go up and down, that represents a number from 0 to 100. So you have a numerical rating there. And it really, I think, decreases the burden on youth for filling in forms, because you get data this way, and you would be getting data as they use the app. And we've been trialing this with first-year university students at Lakehead, because our first query is, of course, that it does no harm, even though we think it won't. But that's an empirical question. So on about 80 subjects, we have found that it indeed does no harm. Their instruction was to use the app twice a day over a month, and the youth have done that. So first year university to the 18 range, and so they have done that. It seems like that's feasible to be using the app every day. They have shown the direction towards improvement in all the indices that we would want them to improve on, like resilience and affect regulation, positive affect regulation, and they've declined on the indices that we would expect that this may impact, like depression and anxiety ratings. So the pilot information is very positive, and we feel confident that it does no harm. We've tried to build the safety and trauma-informed pieces into the app so that you always have a place to go, multiple connections specific to youth populations, the LGBT helplines, etc. And so I'm happy at this point to take any questions or have any comments about this app. The builders of this app, Clearbridge Mobile, are a top tier group who develop communications products, and we were very happy to work with them. And I think you have the links to our two videos. One was done by a university student and one was done by them on resilience in youth YouTube. Our youthresilience.net website has information about JoyPop. And I hope that you do follow us, JoyPop, on Instagram. We have JoyPop app on Instagram, JoyPop_app on Twitter, and on Facebook. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to talk about any aspects of what I've touched on.
Thank you, Christine. That was great. And what wonderful app. I was just wondering, I might have missed it, but can I download?
So in terms of how this works for research, we need to have a connection with a research partner, and then you would have a special link to download it within that context. We don't have it available just now for anyone to download, but if you're a group that are interested in it, we can send you a link to look at it, or we can come or do a follow-up conference call or come to your agency and do a fuller presentation on JoyPop.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions?
Hi, Wendy. I'm not sure if you can see the new question. Could you elaborate on your process of collaborating with youth? What were some of the things you considered in these consultations in terms of caring for the emotional needs of youth? Did you face any challenges?
Yeah, I mean, so the youth are using a lot of apps, and this is something that's very comfortable for them. So when they see that it's an app to use, it's very, their primary concern was privacy. How is this information private, or how does that work? In terms of caring for their emotionality, you know, I think youth maybe don't use distress lines as frequently as they could. I think that's in part because they have a lack of familiarity with it. You're not going to just call something up that you have no idea what's on the other end. So for instance, when we've done some consultation with Kids Help Phone, and I've gone into community and talked to youth, just explaining, because I did do a tour of their offices and saw how they did it, just explaining what it looked like and what the counselors were doing, and that the counselors had a de-stress room. And that the feedback was that was more encouraging for them to think about calling, because they just had now a picture in their mind about, what's on the other end when they call. In terms of the emotionality, we did want to keep it, we do want to put that happy forward first to have youth be in touch with that. They do get to rate the negative moods after that. But one thing's in designing the app that other apps do that we didn't want to do was they'll show a tracking chart that might be, has unintended negative consequences. So if you're having a mood tracking app and it's tracking your depression, and your depression's going up, and all you're getting feedback is your depression's going up, and you're not getting the opportunity to go immediately into activities that are gaming and that are fun art activities, then you may be unintended consequences of not improving that mood. Some of the other apps that are out there, when they did meditation, their languaging was, again, maybe unintended negative consequences could occur. So a very popular app, Headspace, has a meditation, and it has a picture of batteries, and it says you're powering down, trying to say like you're relaxing, your muscles are relaxing, but just that messaging, you're powering down, is potentially not helpful. So we were really mindful when we created the motivational messages and we created the prompts for the journaling of the languaging, in terms of being more positively oriented.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions?
So we're just, the study that's going on now, both at Lakehead and at CIST, we're getting qualitative interviews as the youth use the app, and I can share, I don't know that it's up on our Facebook, that poster, but we do have some quotes, for instance. But the quotes have been all, when asked for quotes, they've been positive.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for this excellent presentation, and what an innovative app that you've created, and I'm sure it can make a difference in many kids' lives and also improve our work as researchers. So thanks so much for taking the time, and please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form if you're listening, and have a great day from all of us.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody in PREVNet land. Have a great day. Much joy.